Hello and welcome to Bootstrap Biz Advice, where I teach service providers how to work less and live more by leveraging tech and YouTube. If this is your first time here, my name is LaShonda Brown. I'm a tech educator, YouTube coach, and speaker based in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Today's live stream is sponsored by Groove. And before I introduce you to today's guest, I would like to share a little bit more about this app.
This live stream is sponsored by Groove. Groove is an app that surrounds you with people who light you up as you conquer your to-dos. It's my favorite virtual co-working space, designed for busy creative entrepreneurs who don't have traditional work teams and crave support. Since it's on your phone, you can co-work from anywhere in the world anytime you need to get stuff done. Over time, I've built deep friendships with Groovers that I work with regularly. The vibe of this app reminds me of sitting down at a table with friends at a coffee shop. But with Groove, I can hang with a friend in London, Israel, and LA all at the same time. By grooving my work tasks, I've been able to get more deep focus work done, so it frees me up to do more other things that I love. If you're craving a burst of encouragement and accountability in your life, visit LaShondaBrown.com to create your free account today.
Michael and I met through the Honeybook Accelerator program a while back called Upward, but we became friends by leveraging the app Groove to help us stay accountable while we were trying to grow our brands after Upward. Dr. Michael Tatonetti is a certified association executive and certified pricing professional. He's on a mission to enhance associations in their pricing models for financial sustainability. As the founder of Pricing for Associations, he and his team work with associations to harmonize pricing and value across membership, education, sponsorship, events, and marketing. Dr. Michael is a proud Association Forum 40 Under 40 honoree for his dedication to the association field. You can learn more about his work at pricingforassociations.com. And without further ado, let's welcome Michael to the live stream.
Hey, LaShonda.
Michael, welcome to the live stream.
It's so good to see. I know I've been like dancing all morning. I'm so excited for the live stream.
It's a whole vibe over here for sure. And I'm so excited to share you with my audience because a while back, I was really agonizing over that term, like know your worth and then charge tax. And I'm like, I'm a creative professional. I don't really know what that's worth. I don't know what my rate should be. If someone else could just tell me, that would be amazing. And I just remember us grooving and you were like, girl, that's what I do for a living. What do you think? So I really benefited from working with you. And so I am pretty sure everyone who is navigating through inflation and the recession are really going to benefit from what you have to share. So thank you for your time. And we are going to hop into the questions. So guys, if you have questions for Michael throughout this, I really want you to drop them in the comments. That way I can highlight ones that we haven't already covered. If you could also like this video where you are watching it, that would be super helpful. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can like the post associated with this event. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like it on YouTube. And after we finish this broadcast, it will automatically turn into a replay. So if you have to pop out, you can always come back and finish watching at that time. So just want to do a little housekeeping. And then also, if you like what you're seeing, I am controlling everything you're seeing. So I'm the one click-clacking on the back end. There is no team. It is moi. So if you love it, I want you to go to LaShondaBrown.com/StreamYard because that's what we're using. And on Thursday, I'm actually leveraging the pro level of StreamYard to use StreamYard webinars to teach my monthly workshops. So it's an incredible tool. You guys know I love talking about tools, so I had to give them a shout out before we hopped in. So Michael, we're going to start with this question. Why is it so stressful to raise your rates? And what can we do to alleviate some of that stress?
Yeah, so I think that, so we're speaking specifically about small businesses, creative businesses today. So solopreneurs, freelancers, all that. I think that when it comes to raising our rates, there's a few reasons that it's stressful. One is we don't know what to charge. We can look at others, but we compare ourselves a lot. We take things very personally when we're a solopreneur, a freelancer, someone who's doing the work on our own. We question our expertise. We question the results that we get our clients. So that makes us debate and question our own value and should we be charging more. I think that the other reason is when we go into business for ourselves, we're very much entering a new frontier. Like I almost think Oregon Trail from back in the day, like that we would play on the big PCs. And we're going into this uncharted territory and we don't know what to expect. When we work a 9 to 5 and we're a W-2 employee, we know to clock in, clock out. They tell us the salary. We might negotiate it within 10 or 20%, but that's it. And then each year we might get 3%, maybe 5, maybe 1, maybe nothing. So it's uncharted territory to set prices, to communicate value, to sell value, and to know what the ROI is. So I think both things are happening. I think when it comes to us questioning our value, there's a few things I would say to that. The first is, if you have an expertise in something, then you should absolutely be charging for that. If you are saving people time, if you are helping them to make more money, if you are replacing an entire position by them outsourcing it, that is worth something. The second thing that I would say is I actually really dislike, there's some discourse in the small business community that you should charge what you're worth or that you need to know your value. I don't like that term. I'm going to explain why. I like to pivot the term a little bit. And instead, I like to say you should charge for your expertise. The reason is it should not be so personal. I'm not charging. So I work with associations, which are nonprofit organizations that represent a group of professionals. So there's like American Marketing Association or American Bar Association. So pretty much any profession, there are associations for that. That's who I work with. When it comes to that, I'm not saying what is Michael worth and charging that. I'm priceless. I think my children are priceless. I think my friends, my family are priceless. I'm not charging based on what I'm worth or my value. I'm charging based on the expertise that I bring to the table. Okay. So I think that matters too, because that removes some of it being so personal, because that's when it's like, we don't get the contract and we're like, well, what could I have done better? From a professional standpoint? Sure. What could you have done better? But from a personal standpoint, your value is not tied in to your professional output. And then when it comes to figuring out how to set the right price, I would simply say it is complex. There's an entire art and science to it. There's an entire profession for it. It's just like anything else, right? Like we start marketing our business, but you're not a social media professional, right? Like maybe you're an accountant who's offering accounting services. So you get that, but you may not get marketing as well, or sales as well, or the operations as well. It's the same with pricing. There's an entire field, an entire science to it. But we're going to talk, I think, a bit more about that through questions today. But I would say don't beat yourself up. Understand that everyone has a hard time setting prices, and there is a way to do it. But yeah, and we could talk about it, but I kind of want to put maybe a bookend on that answer so I don't lecture. Just
no, I'm here for the lecture. And I think it's so important for us to realize that we're charging for our expertise. You know, I think a lot of people get caught up in charging hourly for what they do. And the smarter they get, the faster they become. Yes. And if you do it that way, you're making less and less and less. So yes. if you switch your framework to say, how am I helping the person on the other end of this? Am I, like you said, saving them time, saving the money, making the money that has value? And if you yourself don't know how to quantify the value, then that's how you could leverage a pricing strategist like you to say, okay, let me help you to do the market research and see like, what is what you offer actually worth in the market? Let's get out of, what you feel you should be charging. It's not personal, it's business. So let's look at the numbers and make decisions based on that instead. So I love that. I think laying the groundwork for pricing not being personal is an amazing way to overcome fear, because there's nothing to be afraid of. It's not about you.
Yeah.
If anything, it's about your customer, but it's not about you.
Yes, and you can still get it wrong. Don't get me wrong, right? Like you can overcharge, but then you'll recognize that when no one is ever buying what you're selling. There are different pricing methods. One of them is called price skimming, where you slowly go up and just kind of see when does the market drop off. So you might start off again, whatever it is. Let's say it is hourly. Although I agree, I think that small businesses, especially service providers, we should be charging by the project so that we're not penalized for how fast we go. But as an example there, maybe you start by charging 100 per hour, then you go to 125 or 150, then you even go to 200 or 250. There were times where I did that early in my business, even with being someone who knows pricing. I did a lot of research. I feel like I got my pricing pretty darn well. And really, with price skimming, I found I was pretty much where I should be. There were times where I tried to go higher, and some people paid, some didn't, but I saw what the drop off was, and was it worth it? And so you can do that. Like you can test, you can try. It's just like marketing. You're just trying things out. If you lose a deal, okay. It's informing the future of your business. Your business is not hinged on just one deal coming through. I know that as a small business owner, the revenue coming in matters now.
Right.
But when you're thinking of, I'm trying to build this for the next 5, 10, 20 years, having a 6-month period when you're starting out, or the first year where you're testing pricing, and then afterwards, kind of every year or two saying, okay, I'm going to tweak it a bit and test some new things. That's only helping you in the long run versus staying at the same rate and not knowing.
No, I love that. And I really wanted to ask you, what is the first thing we should do if we feel like we need to raise our rates, right? Because I think a lot of us have looked around and gone like, my money is not going nearly as far as it used to. Something got to change. You know what I mean?
No.
And so it's like, okay, if we can acknowledge that, yesterday's price is not today's price, great. I love that.
Yeah.
However, now what?
Yes. So I would say that if you're looking to raise your rates as a small business owner, there's so many directions you can go in. It's almost like multiple forks in the road. And I tell this to my corporate clients, there is no right or wrong with pricing. It's really about what's best or what's better. So usually there's a lot of paths that you can take. So here are some things that I would recommend. Number one, I would recommend looking at your competitors, but I never recommend pricing based on them. So when you're looking at competitors, you're looking at two things. I usually recommend doing a SWOT analysis, which I'm sure most are familiar with, but it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Your strengths and weaknesses are internal, and your opportunities and threats are external based on your competitors. So you can Google SWOT, SWOT, to get a deeper dive. But what I recommend is looking at two things. One is the value that they say that they're giving, and the second is the price. So when you're doing a SWOT analysis, the SW, you already know internally what you don't do well and what you do well in the services that you provide or in the product that you provide. But I'm focusing a lot on services today. But when it comes to the opportunities and threats, that's where you can look at competitors and say, okay, maybe you're a photographer and a lot of them are offering full access to digital images now. And that's been gatekept so much. Maybe they are. Maybe that's a trend, or maybe everyone's moving away from it. Maybe that's something that you offer. So that's an opportunity for you to charge more, or maybe it's an upsell to your package. Threats would be the negatives. Maybe you are priced at the higher end. So you just have to be aware that you are one of the premium ones in the marketplace. So does the value that you offer align in such a way? So that's one thing, but I don't recommend pricing based on competitors because, number one, you don't know if the value that they state that they give on their website is delivered well. We always assume that we're screwing up some of our services and delivery, but that our competitors are doing it right. But that's not the case. I always use Starbucks and Dunkin' as an example. And I went to Dunkin' today and I hate it. Starbucks charges me $5.99 for my oat milk latte, and I gladly pay it because the customer service is there. It's efficient. It's always made with quality, no matter which location I go to. But my Starbucks right by me just closed down for a month to do a remodel. I didn't have time this morning to drive further to the next nearest Starbucks. So I went to Dunkin', but I got to the window and they're like, what do you want? Basically, like it was an attitude, literally. And then I'm like, I have a mobile order for Doc. And they're like, huh? And I have to like repeat my name. And then when I pull up, the straw was already broken in the wrapper before I even opened it. So I had to come home and get my own straw that's way too short to drink and it doesn't taste as good. And they're charging the same price. So you can look at that and go, oh yeah, Dunkin' should charge what Starbucks charges. No, most people don't go into Dunkin' and sit down and work. They're drive-through only. Starbucks creates an environment and there's quality and there's customer service. So you have to look at how do you compare to your competitors. But again, understand that they may not be doing things as well. So you might charge more. You might charge less. They might be doing it better than you. Another thing that you can look at is you should survey your audience. I think it's great to do a value survey. Now, I do have blogs on our main website, which is pricingforassociations.com. Again, they're geared more towards associations, but when I'm pricing for associations, I'm doing a lot of membership, sponsorship. A lot of things relate to small businesses. You can go on there and find blogs on value surveys. I would highly recommend surveying your past clients and saying, hey, what are the one or two things that stood out exceptionally? What are the one or two things that you think we could do better? If you've used someone else for this service, whether recently or in the past, again, photographer, bookkeeper, accountant, whatever, consultant, who was it and what can we learn from them? What could we do better? So you can get some of that intel. And you could even ask, this is a simple question to gauge. You can say, for the price that you paid, did the value exceed the price? Were the price and value in alignment? Or was the price higher than the value? If the price was higher than the value, that's a problem. If the price and value are in alignment, that's good. But if the value is higher for the majority of people, that means you could probably go up in price because you're doing a great job against what they paid, and therefore they're willing to pay more. So there are things like that. You can survey, you can look at competitors, and try to kind of gather the value. And then there's ways to analyze pricing as well. You can use the Van Westendorp model. You could just create a new pricing package and send a survey to past clients and say, what would you pick? Here was the original package and price. Here's what we've added in the new price. Would you pick A or B and why? And just kind of see what they say so that you can gather, okay, is it safe to charge new customers this? So there's a lot of different things that we can do. Oh, I see a new question.
Yeah, I put that in there because I was like, I'm not waiting for them to ask. When I tell you the amount of times that I've heard survey your customers, I'm like, I love that. Yeah. But nobody says how often.
Yes.
And so I don't want to tick people off by over surveying. So what are your thoughts on how often you should survey your current customer base, basically?
Yeah. So I think there's two mechanisms that you could have in place as a small business owner that I personally do myself. The first is at the end of each project, or if let's say it's retainer ongoing, then you might do it once a year, right? But if it's a project, meaning it's a month or 3 months or 6 months, or it's, again, you're photographing a wedding, then at the end of that, or if you're doing someone's taxes, then maybe, June 1st, if they filed on time and they were a good client, then you can do a survey at the end where you ask a lot of those questions. What were the one or two highlights? What were the one or two things that you think we could do better? I always say, actually, at the beginning, we review these every week as they come in, which we do. As new surveys come in, me and my team look at them and say, okay, how could we be better? And what are we doing well now? Again, where else have you gone? What can we learn from them for the price and value? So you can ask some of those questions as like an exit survey. And then the second mechanism is you can also once a year just send it to past clients, especially if you have a low response rate at the end of a project. I do. A lot of my clients don't do it at the end of the project. And the reason is they've worked with me, but what I'm doing, they're implementing over the next 6 to 12 months after the project. So I like to really go back later because then they can also tell me did you get the results from working with us? We don't know that at the end of the project. But something like, again, photography, you delivered the images, they've looked at them, they can speak to it, right? So I would say those are two mechanisms that you can put into place. And then pricing, so that's kind of value analysis. For pricing, I would look at your pricing every year. I would look at it once a year, pick your slow season. I know for me, I have a slow season where I kind of look at back end stuff, templates, like a lot of operational reset for a quarter each year. And one of the things that I look at then is our packaging and our pricing. And I analyze all those surveys. I look at what's worked. I think about it. And I say, what changes do I want to make? So I'm constantly thinking of my value and my pricing once a year and making real changes.
No, that's so good. And I'm in the process of like moving my little janky bootstrap system over to HoneyBook. And so in my head, I'm like, wait a second. Like when I work with my YouTube coaching clients,
Yep.
I ask them at the beginning on the questionnaire, how much money are you trying to make with your channel in the next 12 months?
Yep.
So like having it trigger to say like after their, last coaching session, 12 months later, send them the survey and say, how did the past year go?
Yep.
Like to not have to keep that in my head would be brilliant. So like I'm making a note to change that.
So that's something that I do. I move them in HoneyBook specifically to the completed stage. Once they're done, they sit there for up to a year. And depending if it was like a 1-day intensive or something, we just follow up at about 3 months. But if they were a big, like for us, 6-month project, we have a 3, 6, 9, and 12-month check-in. The emails are automated. It's all triggered. We don't have to do anything.
Bless your heart. I'm writing that down.
And we're also, the reason is we're not only asking, how's it going? So it's not a formal survey. We send the survey at the end and the survey at the 1-year mark. But at the 3, 6, and 9 month, it's just a quick email that says, hey, it's Michael checking in, seeing how things are going. The reason is, number one, if they're having any issues, which no one ever does for, like, I feel like we do a really good job. Our clients, there's only one client in the last 5 years that I know is like, yeah, and we've worked with, I don't even know, like 100 projects. So like literally 1%. But it's also so we're top of mind, because then something else comes up and they go, oh, you know what? Like this will happen, a couple times a year, where they reply and go, it's going well, but we have something else. Can you look at this, or can we hire you for this? So it also helps with getting business to reach by doing those quick touch points and a quick informal 2 or 3 line.
And you automate that too?
It's automated. And then at the end of the year, the last task is to archive them. Then in HoneyBook, we move them to archived. So their project is closed and completed, but we keep them in the completed stage for 12 months if they're a big client, 3 months, maybe 6 if it was like a quick, small project.
That's so good. Now, when I titled our live stream, I wanted to really hone in on the fact that it's awkward to raise your rates, right? It's, it induces fear in business owners. You might get objections from people for the price increase. And so I would love to know your opinion on what is the best way to communicate to people who've already paid you, right?
Yes.
That the price is going up, because when you're in business long enough, you're going to have people who came in when you were, on year 1, and by year 5, they shouldn't be paying the same thing.
Ooh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So what do we do?
I remember my very first project that I did for pricing for associations was probably something like $15,000, which might sound like a lot, but this was for like a 6-month project, and I was trying to prove the concept. Now I don't charge less than 30, 35 for the same thing. And it's the same amount of work. I was again testing the concept and making sure I got the results for the client before I started running my mouth and promoting a business. So that's going to happen. So I have a few recommendations here for the small business segment. Number one, if it is something that is a recurring payment, so let's say they're in ongoing coaching or mastermind or something like that, right? Then you need to communicate it and when it goes up. Now, never change the price in the middle of a contract. If they've signed on for 6 months of coaching, don't you ever go back. It is literally not only unethical, but you will have legal issues if you go back and say, oh, now it went up. No. Or I've also seen horrible cases where people will change the value, meaning they say, here's an example. You're working with Michael for 6 months as a coach, but 3 months in, I saw someone who said, oh, I've now hired coaches under me and you're working with them. No, that's not what the contract said. Unless it said you're working with the organization and the coach can be anyone, you have to really watch that you properly deliver value and price according to the contract. So if you have something that's recurring, then you give them a couple months notice, you let them know. But I'm going to be honest, if it is a one-time purchase, so if it's a course, if it's a template, if it's a book, if it's your speaking fee, I don't communicate price changes. And here's why. Even if you have people come back, they understand that the price is going to change. I have a photographer that I work with exclusively. This is going to be our 8th year in October that we've worked together. We started in 2016. We've done more than 8 photo shoots, but every October for 8 years, this is year 8, we have done a family photo shoot. as a mini session. I always sign up for her mini session. Back in 2016, it was $50. In 2023, I've paid, it might have been $275 or $325. I don't even remember. I already paid it in full. Last week it opened up. I signed up for October 1st, and we're doing our annual family photos. Never once did my photographer say, here was the price last year, here it is now, and here's why it went up. She just does it because it's an understood that the cost of business changes and the quality changes, her education, her improvements, all that. For me, it's worth it. I would never question it. So if it's a one-time thing, like if I'm changing, I do 2 offers really. I do a 1-day intensive, or I do a like 4 to 6 month project where we're really doing a lot of pricing and value analysis and work. I don't communicate when the price changes. I've had clients come back, they paid 23, then they paid 35 for the same thing. That just is what it is. Now, if they question it, what I can do is I can remove value as the price goes down. So if they come to me and they say, hey, we see that it is whatever, 5,000 for a day. Can we do a half day for 2,500, or can we do a half day, or we can only pay 3,000? Then I might say, okay, we could do a half day, but I'm not going to just give them the thing for a lower price. So if it's recurring, communicate it. Now, if they object, because I see that's the next thing.
Yeah, because I'm like, we're kind of in the same vein where it's like, okay, you've raised the rate, right?
Yep.
And they say, hey, love that for you.
Yep.
I'll pay what I paid last year. I'm guessing that the answer is remove the value, or I don't even know if it means walk away. But I think this is something that could very well come up where it's like someone's been with you for years and you bump it up to a point where they no longer feel like it's valuable to them. Yep. What do you say then?
Well, then they may not be your ideal customer anymore. So this is where you have to make decisions as a business owner. You have to know who can afford to pay that. Is, again, are you going to get, like, if you think of it this way, if you go from charging, let's do an hourly rate, even though I hate hourly. Let's say that you started out and you felt really insecure and you started at $25 an hour to do some VA work, right? And then let's say you are doing 40 billable hours per week, which is insane. I mean, you need some admin time, all of that. You can't just do 40 hours of billable time. But let's just say, so you're making what, 1,000, 25 times 40? Let me do my quick math. Yeah, $1,000 a week. Let's say you go up to $50. You say, you know what I'm doing and the time I'm saving my clients is really worth it. So you have to understand that, okay, now you need 20 hours worth of bookable time. So 20 hours might go away, or 30 hours might want to roll over. So now you say, okay, I can take it at 50 for these first 20, but for these next 10 hours, like, I'm going to have to charge a premium, right? Or you outsource it to someone else that works under you and you pay them, $30 an hour, and you keep 20 because you have to check the work. So now we're getting more into the business design of things. But when it comes to someone rebuting, you're not going to change I don't go into Walmart or Starbucks or even Dunkin' and say, this is not worth $5.99. And it pisses me off that I'm paying $5.99. I pay the $5.99 or I go somewhere else. We have to stop. We look at ourselves as small business owners as if we have to negotiate everything down, and that's just not the case. I think it's very unhealthy. Again, I think it goes to a scarcity mindset, and I think it goes to us trying to put our value too much into it. I think we have to think of it as a business decision and income. And I would say if you're desperate for money, that's another business issue. Did you save up enough before you launched, or are you still working your 9 to 5 or whatever? But if you're in a bad place, I mean, that happens, right? So there are certain real exceptions to the rule when you've got to put food on the table. But in general, you should be budgeting in a way that you can afford to make these mistakes. It's very risky to do a business, to start a business and to go for it. You have to take calculated risks. And part of it is you're going to fail at times. Like, that's going to happen. But then you have to push through that because the risk is worth the reward for the majority of people. So if you have a viable business concept, you might have to let some people go. You could explain the value. I'm not saying don't try. If you do, you talk about value. You don't talk about your costs because they don't care about your costs. You don't negotiate down. You don't go, well, okay, no, this is what it is. We appreciate you being a customer. We're adding this value in, or we're doing these things. We're adding something additional. And this is why, it's this, and this is our package moving forward. And you don't negotiate on that because you should be designing your business around the life that you want and what you want in your packaging based on the life that you want. How much time do you want to invest in your business every week? LaShonda and I both are big on not working more than 20 hours a week. I only typically work 10 to 15, but I have a team that's working 40 hours a week behind the scenes and getting things done for our clients. But me, direct client work, 10 to 15 hours. I might do some admin stuff on top of that. It's not, but I don't want to work 40 hours a week. I want to enjoy my kids. I want to go to the gym. I want to go lay out in the sun. Like, I want to enjoy this life. I don't want to wait till I retire. I want to enjoy life now, because tomorrow's never promised. But I know the results I get my clients is totally worth it. And so, yeah, it's a privilege thing to get to that, but it took a lot of risk and a lot of failure to get to this too. It wasn't just handed. So you've got to be stern with your clients and say, hey, this is what it is. That might mean firing some of them.
Well, and I think the thing is too, when you say no, that's opening up the door for somebody else to walk through. So it's like, if they're not a good fit, the best thing you can do is like call it early so they can find somebody else. And so everyone, if you are watching this live stream live and you have questions, whether you're on YouTube or you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and drop them in the comments, because we do have time for a few questions. So I'm going to ask you one last one, Michael.
Yeah.
Once you increase your rates, how should you publicly talk about the price increase? So I heard you kind of hinted it before.
Yeah.
Because some people have like mixed feelings about putting your pricing on your website and things like that. I've seen some people use it as like a marketing tactic, like, hey, the price is going up in 3 months, so hop in. So what do you say publicly once you do raise the rates?
Yeah. So again, there's so many options. It's not really about right or wrong. It's about what's best for you. In general, I do think prices should be on websites, because it helps to qualify leads before they jump on the call. Even if, like, again, my projects can vary in price. My 1-day intensive is what it is. This is the price. My projects, I put, a range. I say it's between this and this, so that they have an idea before they get on the call. And then I ask them, again, as a part of that onboarding, like, they fill out a questionnaire before they book the sales call. And part of it is, which are you interested in? A 1-day intensive, a 4 to 6 month consulting, or something else? I'm not sure. And this way I can start gauging where they at. I think you can, from a marketing perspective, I think you can use the price is changing as a type of marketing tactic. I think it could be done in a non-cringy way, but I think that the majority of the time it's done in a cringy way. So I would say, what's your identity as a business and what are your values? Again, nothing wrong with it, but typically the only type of shopper that you're going to have move the needle because you say the price is going up in 3 months or in a week is someone who is price sensitive. And the person who's price sensitive is going to be nitpicky about every little thing you do. They're typically your PIA customers, the pain in the butts. So they're the ones that are going to say, well, I got this for this and you didn't, or this didn't, or I didn't get this email on time. That's not who I want to work with. Like, that's not what I want. So again, pick your poison, right? That's more of a desperation tactic. But I think prices should be on websites. Here's another thing. Think about it this way. Your customers are going to shop against other people if you don't have your prices up and if you don't have multiple options. So that doesn't mean that you always have multiple price points for each product, but here's what I mean. When you go, think back in the 90s, okay? So when I was a kid, my family would look at the Sunday ads and say, oh, this chicken is cheaper at this, grocery store. I'm going to go here for these things, here for these things, and here for the milk. They would price shop and drive to 3 different grocery stores just to buy stuff for the week. I buy on Instacart. I don't even care what the price is anymore. I Instacart, I go pick up or have it delivered. I don't care that I'm paying a premium. I want to save my time, right?
Right.
If I do go into the store to grocery shop, that's why there's so many bread options, so many milk options, so many of everything, coffee options. I'm looking at 2 or 3 and comparing and saying, the Starbucks versus the Dunkin' pre-made coffee is an extra $1. I'm willing to pay that for Starbucks. I'm comparing within. If you don't have multiple offers or options, I think when you're starting, you should have one core offer, but then you might move and branch to a couple. If you don't do that, they're going to compare you to other people. So if you only offer a mastermind, they're going to compare you. But if you offer a mastermind and a course and a book, and the book is $40 and the course is 300 and then the mastermind is 1,000, they're going to say, okay, I want to work with this person, but my budget is 300 to 500. So I'm going to buy.
Right. Yeah.
So
So
by
for
having,
me, I feel like it's like the choose your own adventure thing, right? So when you have the like the low mid high tier offer, it's like if they decide they want to work with you and they don't have the budget for the high tier, they can put themselves in the mid tier if you have it.
Yes.
But if it's only, one price or go home, then it's like, well, now I got to shop around.
And they're going to compare you, and then they're comparing the value and all that. And they don't know if the value that you give or they give is better. They're just looking at the price and the stated value, and that's it. So I fully agree. Like working with associations, they're nonprofits. Some of them are really small and have a budget of only 100,000 a year or $1 million a year. They can't afford to spend $50,000 necessarily with me. That's 2 or 30, but they'll spend 5. So that option is there for the small orgs. But for the bigger orgs that bring in 60 million a year, they're like, heck yeah, we'll gladly pay you 30 or 40 or 50 to do all this work for 6 months because we don't have time. And if we hired a full-time pricing person, we're going to pay them between salary, benefits, all that, 150,000 for a year, where you can just come in and come out and get it done, and we don't need to hire anyone. So yes, please let me sign. So you have to know your audience and understand that. And so it might be tiers of one core offer. Again, maybe you're a photographer, maybe you're a bookkeeper. You may not always offer the course. No one wants to learn how to do their own bookkeeping. I outsource that. I don't want to do it myself. I don't want to take my own headshots. I want to hire a photographer to come in and take a headshot of me and my team every year or two to update our website. I don't want to build the website. I will talk through strategy of wireframe, copy, images, but then I want to outsource and have somebody else make it for me. I don't want to do it. I want to save time. So you have to know your audience, but I think giving a few options really helps. But with that, I wouldn't communicate much. I would just, this is what it is. The other thing is people are not checking for you like that. New customers have probably not been stalking and saying, oh my God, the price went up. They don't know. And recurring customers have some, I don't even remember what I've paid every year for the last 8 years for my photographer. I couldn't tell you when it went to 100 or 150 or 2 or 250 or whatever. I don't even remember what I paid for this year last week. Like I said, it was something around 275 to 325. I don't remember, and I don't care because her work is phenomenal. She makes my kids look beautiful. Her editing is amazing. It's realistic, but it's just beautiful. It's what I like. What I will hang up as a poster size in my house. So you don't need to announce too much. The problem is finding the right price and communicating the value so that they can make a quick decision. That's your goal, is how do you get them to close the deal?
So I think we need to say this before we hop into the audience questions, because I'm sure y'all are like, I need Michael. Like, I know what you need. I've already talked to him. I'm like, I know you work with large associations, but the people need help. The people need you. So we came up with an offer that made sense. So Michael, if you can walk people through what they will get for their offer, I will go. I'm digging the comments for questions. We're going to land this plane at 11, hard stop. So if you have questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat and we'll answer as many as we can.
Yes. So for the offer, so basically I went to my very lowest hourly rate, which is $250. Heck, I think LaShonda, when you've worked with me, it's still been $500. Most of the time I charge $500. But for LaShonda's audience, I went down to $250 and I added a 30% discount if you use code LaShonda. So if you go to LaShondaBrown.com/Michael, that will redirect you to an intake form for our team. And you can fill that out. And I will be doing up to 10 of these. We'll be booking them later this week. So if you sign up, then our team will follow up. We'll get you on the books, get you signed up, all that good stuff. But I'll be doing up to 10 of these. My goal is to do them all in the month of September so that we can meet and talk about your pricing. And what we'll do is we'll meet for an hour. You get a recording and transcription of it as well. And we'll basically look at your value and your pricing. And I'm going to give you my best expertise. Typically, you should have way more than a 175 ROI. So what you invest, if you're actively selling and doing something great, even if you're in the new stages, it could be worth investing that. That's why I kept it really, really, really low. But basically, we're going to meet. I'm going to look at your pricing, give you recommendations of where you might be able to go, how you're selling the value, how you could tweak the value statements that you're making and make them even more engaging so that you're selling in a really profound way and capturing the price that you would like to. So yeah, so you can head to LaShondaBrown.com/Michael. That's not for my association audience. If any of my association people are listening, this is for the small business community so that I can give back to my peers of small business owners. So yeah, feel free if you would like to work with me. I would love, I have a passion for working with small businesses because as a small business owner, I just really believe in entrepreneurship. I'm so big on it. So it feels like a give back for me.
I love that. And I'm really glad that you made an offer that could be accessible to my community. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you doing that. So we're going to hop into some of these questions. There's some really meaty ones. So I think this is going to be beneficial to people watching in the replay. So again, thank you guys for giving good questions. Y'all know how it is. Sometimes when you ask the public does not deliver. So thank you for quality questions. So the first question is, how do you correctly value your expertise if your expertise has gone from a hobby passion to perfection, right? So we started something because we had a skill set, we enjoyed it, but now we're trying to do it as a profession. So how does that work?
Yeah. So what I'm actually hearing there is a level of questioning value because it started as a hobby or passion. So I wouldn't worry about that. Everything, to me, the best things in business start as a hobby or as a passion because it means that you really care about it rather than it being like, oh, it's my 9 to 5 and I have to clock in and I have to do this. Part of building your own business is doing something that you care about and that you're passionate about and lights you up, right? That you can also make money at. So I would say that if it started as a hobby or passion and now you're moving into that professional realm, I would definitely say don't discount the experience that you have. Consider if you have certifications or can you earn a certification to show proficiency. That's one thing that really sets me apart is in my space, I have 2 certifications and I'm the only one that holds both of them as of right now. I think someone else might soon, but it really sets me apart to say I know this and I know this really well. So is there a certification that you can get through your association? Look that up. I think that's great. I think use prior hobby passion work as a portfolio. Go back and ask for testimonials from some of those people. So even if they weren't paying or weren't paying a lot, like if you were doing it pro bono or doing it for a really cheap rate, I would still say it's all expertise. It's all experience that your audience is looking for you to have. So leverage that. I would still value it in a very, very similar way. I wouldn't change anything. When I started pricing, I did it for free and for fun. I was focusing more on marketing and moving to being a CEO of an association, and I'd gotten to VP level. And I realized once I started interviewing in CEO positions that I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to deal with the board every day. But that by being a consultant, I can come in, do some amazing work, and then leave. And that was more in alignment with the lifestyle that I wanted. So I started at first, I was writing for free, speaking for free, consulting for free. Then I was like, wait, I can make money. And I think this is an avenue. So similarly, so just because it started as a hobby or passion doesn't mean that you can't go back and use those as case studies or years of experience. So I would highly encourage that. Again, don't undervalue your professional experience.
So good. So I really want to know what your thoughts are on beta testing for people who are starting out, right? Because I know a lot of people say like pre-sale it and do beta the first round or whatever. So if someone is starting out brand new, no followers, no customers yet, do you suggest that they try beta testing for what they offer?
So yes, with a no. So basically there's some parameters I'm thinking of. Is it good to test pricing, especially for an initial launch of something? Yes. What you want to, well, let me talk about the pro of that first. The pro is I would put into the agreement that you are looking for a testimonial written and video and put it needs to be a 60-second video. This is kind of the script. Say your name, say what you were struggling with, what was the transformation, and that you would recommend it or not, right? You can then use that for written. You can use their image and their video and their likeness for testimonials for marketing purposes. So I would include that. And it's also great to get feedback, to ask them at the end, what would you pay for this? What, things like that. So getting that is great. But here's where I don't say no, but it's like a tension. What you don't want to do is undercharge so much that they question the value. And here's what I mean. Think about it again. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. We undervalue ourselves when we look in the mirror. It's just human nature, right? We're always our own worst critic. Our bodies, our finances, our work, our parenting, our partnering relationships, all that. We will tear ourselves apart more than anybody else. It's human nature. What you don't want, if you were the customer, is to say, oh, let's say, because it's online business, let's say it's a mastermind or a course, some kind of group coaching, something like that. Let's say normally it would be $1,000 for whatever it is. Maybe it's a 3-month or 6-month thing. I don't know. If someone was only charging $100 or $200, I would be like, I don't know that it's going to be worth my time. Am I going to get a transformation? Is it worth me showing up every week or every 2 weeks for this 3 or 6 month period? Like, I would question that. So you also don't want to underprice, because then they're going to question, is it worth the value? Is it worth my time? So you might say normally price anchor. That's something good to Google. We have a blog on it, price anchoring. That's where you might say normally this would be $1,000, but for the first 10 for this beta group, we're only going to charge $700 or $600 in exchange for, so that they go, okay, I'm getting $300 or $400 off, but I'm giving the video testimonial. I'm allowing them to use my likeness for marketing purposes. And I'm going to do an exit interview at the end to give feedback on value, the experience, the pricing, all of that. Then it makes sense. And they say, okay, this is worth $1,000, but I'm exchanging some of my time for how much I'm paying. So consider that. That would be my biggest consideration. So beta price, yes. But be careful. Don't undervalue yourself at the same time. Look at it as feedback, so that as you break into the market, you're making the product better, and then you're launching a solid product that you can charge market rate for.
So I think that kind of goes along the lines with this question as well, bringing people in at a founding member rate and then grandfathering them in at that beginner rate. So would you say the same advice for that question as well?
Similar. I would be very careful when I hear an ongoing grandfathering. It sounds like membership or subscription. What I would be careful with is, how long do you think the client will stay, and do you have capacity to take on more? So if it's something like a SaaS product where you could take on 1,000 or 10,000, who cares? But if it's like coaching, like group coaching, and they're all, or membership, and they're all just sitting in there, at some point you're going to hit capacity where you have to hire more people or whatever. So what you might say is, you get this rate for the first 3 years of your membership or the first 2 years. So I think you can do something like that. But you want to watch and wonder what is normal, retention rates, things like that. So be careful. Take some of those business considerations into mind.
So this is the last question that we will address. This one comes from Phil. How do you feel about value-based pricing, and what is the best way to implement that?
Yeah, so that's what I do, is value-based. So there's a lot of different pricing methodologies, but value-based is saying that you're going to charge based on the value that your customer perceives and their willingness to pay for that value. So here's a quick example. The iPhone, that's a good one. So I've got my iPhone. This thing, I don't know off the top because I don't work for Apple, but Apple has a pricing department. Every major company, Starbucks, Dunkin', they all have pricing departments that do this full time and are changing prices daily. So it's a whole thing. Let's say that the iPhone costs, it's probably not more than $200 to $300 to manufacture. I'm sure it's not less than $100. Let's say it's $200 to make it. So they could do cost plus and say, we're going to mark it up by 50% and sell it at $300, and we're going to make $100 profit. That's cost plus pricing. Value-based pricing is saying, how much are people willing to spend for this? What is the value that they get? I know that for me, between using HoneyBook, I use StreamYard when I do go live. I use Google Docs, Google Drive to run our business, Loom, ClickUp, Google Calendars, like pretty much everything is in the cloud. I can pretty much run my business from my phone if I want to. Meetings would be a bit of a pain in the butt, but other than that, like I could pretty much run my business. I am more than willing to spend $1,000 to $1,500 for a quality iPhone that's going to last me 2 to 4 years. That's a no-brainer for me. So that's value-based pricing. How to implement it, there's an entire methodology that I can't fully get into in 9 minutes. But what I want you to think of is value-based pricing is the ceiling, the highest that you can charge, and your costs are your basement. So you should know what are your costs. And as a service provider, it is a bit harder. But one thing that I did for the first 1 to 2 years of my business was I tracked every 15 minutes that it took to do anything for a project by phase. So I tracked it, even though it was a pain in the butt. I'm not big on tracking time. I hate it. Even my team, I don't make them clock in or out or track time. I don't care if they get the work done in 10, 20 hours or in 40. Just here's what you got to get done for the week. As long as it doesn't go over 40, get to it. I hate tracking time, but in the beginning, I needed to know, okay, this project took 200 hours. Well, now maybe it takes me 60, but my team does 140 hours worth of work. So how much am I paying them? How much am I getting paid? What's the cost of our tech stack? Like our tech stack's no more than $5,000 a year. So outside of paying my team, my costs being an online business are relatively low, which means our profitability is relatively high. And I can pay my team a higher than normal wage because that's a value that I personally have. With that being said, I can say, okay, it takes this many hours and this is our minimum cost, right? When you look at direct, indirect costs, fixed variable costs to do a project or a one-day intensive, but here's what the market is willing to pay. So value-based pricing is saying, what are they willing to pay for it? And that's why I don't like the hourly rate. I had one time, I charge an org $500 per hour. That's my standard rate, is $500 per hour. And I remember legal pushed back on the contract, not because of the contract itself, but saying, why is he charging $500 an hour? That's more than what we charge. And I said, that's not my problem. Yes, you are a lawyer. You have a JD. That's a doctorate. I also have a doctorate and certifications. And again, I'm the only one really in my field that does this. So you can go to someone else, but they're not going to do as good of a job. I already know that. So you're paying for my experience, or you don't have to pay it. There are plenty of others who pay it. So I'm not phased. And the organization didn't care because the lawyers were personally offended. I thought it was very funny. So yeah, that goes back to not caring if someone pushes back. Now, if everyone pushes back, then you're overpricing. But when it comes here and there, that's okay. So that's value-based pricing in a nutshell, is charging what they're willing to pay above and beyond the cost that it takes to do the thing. And that's where you find profitability. That's where seasonality comes in. I tend to sign all my contracts in about 4 to 6 months out of the year, and then I don't make any money for 6 months. But I know what's coming in. I know, I can project it. I save. I spread it out. I know the cost of completing all those projects. You have to look at a lot of variables.
So all that being said, people, y'all better get that consult, because I'm telling you right now, y'all not gonna get that price. You're gonna get it next month, next year. Yeah. So I am just overwhelmingly grateful, Michael, that you just poured into the people, because I mean, this is so essential for small businesses to understand. And there aren't, like you said, there aren't many resources out there that are helping us navigate pricing in a way where it doesn't feel slimy or stressful. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really grateful for you. I'm really grateful for Groove for sponsoring this live stream. And so you better not cringe. I'm going to talk about my pricing for my workshops, and I'm going to talk about the reason why. Because when I tell y'all the amount of times I've told Michael a price for something and he's like, get out of here. That is why I have him in my life. He is my sounding board for my prices, and I'm so grateful. So obviously, if you're watching on LinkedIn, you know that Michael is on LinkedIn. If you're watching on YouTube, please, guys, go follow him on LinkedIn. He's always delivering value. His blog is fire. Like, there is no excuse to not understand how this stuff works. So again, just go to LaShondaBrown.com/Michael, sign up for your consult. You're going to get, so the small business rate is $250, and then you're getting another 30% off that. So I'm telling you guys, when I tell you Michael does not do this. Like, I was shocked.
No.
I was shocked. So I'm telling you now, guys, like, I'm not trying to like hard sell you, but don't think you can wait and come back to this because it will not be there. It will not. It will not.
No.
So I'm going to go ahead and pop him out of the stream, tell you guys about some workshops. If you hopped in late, y'all need to go. It's a whole masterclass. We gave y'all a whole masterclass. So go back, watch it. It's going to be up on YouTube as a replay. That's a phenomenal place to share this content. I don't typically share a video from LinkedIn simply because people have to log into LinkedIn to watch it. So if you want to send this to people in your organization and say, hey, what do you think about hiring Michael to look at our pricing? Here, he's clearly competent, capable, like, can we do this? Like, share that YouTube replay, because we are in a situation in this world right now where our money is not going as far as it needs to go. So adjusting your pricing is something you should do every year anyway. But in the midst of a recession and inflation, it's so essential that you do this in order for you to continue to thrive in business. So again, make sure you guys check that out. I'm going to pop him out real quick because I will land this plane on time. But I want to tell you guys about my upcoming workshops, because that is a huge way that I teach online. So let's walk through this, and I'm going to explain my pricing so Michael doesn't cringe. Okay, awesome. So basically, the reason why I do my workshops in this way is because I am a full-time tech educator, and working with the tech companies is how I'm able to provide affordable pricing for my workshops. Okay. So my customer is a tech company. All right. So when I help you guys, it doesn't hurt me to charge $10 for my workshops. Now, here's the thing. I would prefer to bring people in for a $10 workshop than a free one. Because from day one, we're establishing that there is a value to what I do. And then my email list becomes an email list of buyers and not freebiers. Okay. So that is why I do it in this way. So on Thursday, I will be talking to you guys about how to market your YouTube videos. If you guys don't market your videos well, in my opinion, you might as well not be on YouTube, because it is an investment. Your time is worth money. And if you're investing your time and you're not getting views, then you're not making money. Okay. So that is why this topic was chosen. So you can head over to LaShondaBrown.com/workshops to see the listing of all of this stuff. You can also join us on the 7th. I'm really playing around with really helping you guys to connect with the experts that are friends of mine. Okay. So we're going to be talking about how to book more brand partnerships, paid brand partnerships with Sean Scott. Sean is phenomenal. I had him look over my media kit. I had him, look over my packaging to help me to see, like, what are people charging in the creator economy? And should I include something else that I've missed? That's going to be amazing. And then I am playing around with this. This may not happen again. This is a test. This is only a test. We're going to do a Canva cleanup party that is pay what you want. Okay. So if you want it to be free, it can be free. If you want to pay to support the channel, love it. Love for you to do that. But ultimately, a lot of us have really janky Canva accounts, let's be honest, and we need to clean them up at least quarterly. And so that is what will be going on at the Canva cleanup party. I'm going to let you guys know some updates that happened to Canva over the last quarter. And trust me, there are a lot of them. Canva just celebrated their 10-year birthday. So they're doing a lot. So if you are overwhelmed with a lot of the new updates, this is a perfect opportunity for you to stay on top of what's going on, but then also walk through how I organize my Canva account so that I can find things more easily. I always have a 15% off my entire shop. This is the only time I do this. If you use the code live on YouTube. I do this to encourage you guys to watch my live streams, to participate, to like the videos, to share it. And so if you want to save some money on these workshops, you can just use that code live on YouTube. when you check out from the store. So again, I'm so grateful that you guys were here. I have seen so many incredible comments. You guys can find Michael on LinkedIn, Dr. Michael Tatonetti on LinkedIn. I can have him drop that in the chat as well. And I'll be sure to update the description with a link to his LinkedIn profile. That's a fantastic place for you guys to follow him. But I'm back, guys. I took a month off of live streaming. I am rested. I am rejuvenated. And so the content is going to be popping. Groove has also sponsored a 5-part series about how to support small businesses in a practical way. We've released 3 of the 5 videos. 2 more are coming. So if you have missed any of that content, I would encourage you to go to my channel, Bootstrap Biz Advice, to check out that series. And I will have more content coming to you live Mondays at 10. So as we like to say on the channel, until next time, ta-ta for now.